Welcome to the podcast series on technology and innovation in coaching, brought to you by the Association for Coaching, the world's leading independent body. I am Claudia Day, coach and entrepreneur and founder of eHuddle. In this AC podcast series, we are privileged to talk to coaches, academics, and entrepreneurs who will be sharing with us some of their research, findings, and experiences related to technologies that could help us democratize coaching, elevate the coaching practice, lower cost, or save time, among other benefits. This is a very broad topic, going from how technologies can support a coach or carry out a coaching process. We hope this series brings technology closer to coaches. Enjoy listening. Welcome to Adina Tarry, Rebecca Rutschmann, and Nicky Terblanche. It is a pleasure to have you with us. I will let you tell the listeners more about yourselves before we start.
A few words about me. I am currently working as a master executive, team coach, and also supervisor. I'm also a business mentor. My field of interest and expertise is with careers, executive and business coaching and mentoring. I'm also a practicing business psychologist, and I work as a consultant to develop leadership and organization development. In addition, I write books, I speak at conferences if I have the opportunity, and I do a lot of pro bono work with professional organizations as well as mentoring startups at the moment. Particularly in the last few years, I really enjoy working with the younger generation of leaders and businesses coming through.
Thank you so much. Rebecca, do you want to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm a communications and user experience specialist, and I have a very great passion for data science and technology. I'm also a certified business coach. I work with coaching for more than 15 years now, and during my studies, I did my major in computer science. I wrote my thesis on customer data analysis for CRM, and I still love everything data and data science. So combining the coaching with technology has always been a complete dream of mine. In 2019, I had the pleasure to found Evoach, our coaching tech startup, and we're designing and creating domain-specific chatbot builders now for coaching that include gamified coaching tools, and we're enriching it step by step now with AI.
Thank you so much. And that leaves us with you, Nicky.
Yes, thank you. I am at the moment primarily an academic. So I work with the University of Terblanche Business School in South Africa, where I'm the head of the master's degree in coaching. I'm also a software engineer in a previous life. And like Rebecca, I've also been looking for ways to combine my technology and coaching experience into one. So, because I'm also a practicing executive coach since 2011. And I've created a series of coaching chatbots, Coach Vici and Coach Vidi, two of them. And I primarily use them to do research, to actually get empirical evidence of the efficacy and the technology adoption of AI coaching, so that we can talk from evidence and not just from speculation.
Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to come and share with us listeners, with all our listeners, about technology and some of the fears that come with the ethics things that we need to start thinking about with these introduction of technologies. In the coaching industry, there is a bit of fear about the risk. For example, Kevin Ellis Bush, in his paper about coaching augmentation, says, disturbingly, as these technologies are being developed, technologists are creating the algorithms that ape the coaching process, where no ethical framework exists to guide the potency and application of these digital agents. So can you share with the listeners your thoughts on this statement? How is this true? How is it not? Adina.
Yes, I would like to remind everyone that technology is actually a result of people's ingenuity and innovation. Technology doesn't exist in its own right. So everything technology, whether it's robots, machines, whatever it is an outcome of human creation. So whatever technology does or does not is because human beings have decided that this is what the capability of technology needs to be. So if we look at algorithms, they have been programmed by human beings and they do not have a life of their own. They actually can be controlled. So at the end of the day, I think that the focus needs to be on what exactly do they imitate? Because really technology, particularly with artificial intelligence, is really an attempt to imitate human thinking processes and human actions and activities. And so what we learn as we develop technologies is we learn how little or how much we know about human beings. So therefore, there is a pushback as far as I'm concerned, looking at what do we know about human beings, what do human beings do right or wrong, and what are the ethical principles that guide their minds at the time when they program and create machines, because that will reflect in the technology. So we cannot blame technology or look at technology for doing something right or something wrong. We need to look at the mindset and the principles that have gone into coding and into creating that technology.
That's a very interesting point. But I attended a meeting earlier this week where it was a prize giving for innovation at my university, and there was a guest speaker who was a patent attorney, and he shared with us that for the first time ever, a patent was awarded in South Africa and in Australia for something that was created by an AI, not by a human. And we were fascinated by that concept. In America, they haven't quite agreed to that yet. But what about if we go to the point where AI actually starts creating and innovating and doing things beyond what it was designed for, to the point where the human is actually out of the loop? I know we're not quite there yet, but it would be interesting to see how, the point of liability, who takes responsibility. Is it really only humans, or can we get to a point where a human is actually out of the loop and we have this intelligence thinking about for itself?
Can I just briefly comment? Indeed, you are absolutely right, and I've heard of this as well in the UK a few years back. The question then becomes different again, whether we can consider a machine a responsible and legally liable entity. So we have moved again the goalpost, trying to identify, is a machine actually a legal entity that you can rule against and punish in some way or regulate in some way or put them in a court? It is the same thing about ownership of algorithms and transparency. The question is, for companies are asked to be transparent about their algorithms, and it is an algorithm which actually created another algorithm, in this case, the additional piece of software. But the question is that with an algorithm, it is a matter of patent, as you said. So it's a private business secret, so to speak. And the question is whether you can force organizations to give away their secrets, like asking a pharmaceutical company to just give you the formula that they use. So we are getting into an unprecedented territory of understanding who is a person that can be held responsible under the justice system. Is a machine the same as an individual? Is the machine an individual? Can we punish it, etc.? So we are now into a different territory, but I agree with you, it's fascinating.
Rebecca, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I'm coming more from the creating side of these machines. You're totally right, Adina. It's a super interesting discussion. And I think the one, who is actually creating the machine in the first place, we need to discuss about, how to actually create this, what kind of frameworks we need, to base, the training, of such a robot machine on and teach, it or integrate, the different standards and ethics as well. So, the complete coaching business, all the coaching associations agree on certain standards within the industry. And I think everyone who is actually developing a coaching technology should also follow those standards and frameworks and ethics that are common in that industry. So I think we're at the very beginning, of the whole development at the moment. So it's very important to get all the players on board, and Nicky can maybe talk about the committee that they're starting to establish, and I'm hoping to be able to join as well soon, to actually talk about these standards, with developers of that technology, with people from the research side and also the associations. In this case, it's the ICF, but I know that other associations are also working on that. And I think we need to form a kind of like a body and a committee to actually support each other in establishing these standards and frameworks on how to actually reach that level in the future.
Absolutely agree. And as you said, there are associations that are already working on those collaboration for standards, which are specific to be used in technology for the coaching applications. But we are back in human hands. It is the humans that create a beautiful coalition, understanding the implication, taking responsibility, and understanding that the technology that comes out needs to adhere to something that in the design is already embedded, so that we protect the users, the clients, and the coaches from any kind of implication. We absolutely agree. Yes.
That was great. So basically we have the humans that are being imitated, the humans that are responsible, the humans that created and then received the patent, and then the humans that would be responsible for and that need to take responsibility for these developments. Moving to that, we can take it a bit more into coaching, into the coaching environment, thinking about the behaviors that are expected of a coach. So based on the complete handbook of coaching by Cox, Bucky-Roba, and Clutterbuck, we can basically think of those behaviors that coaches need to have, and then think, when you introduce technology, how does this get impacted? And one of those is information security. Coaches are only allowed to share information with clients if it is anonymized and for the purpose of reflection, for supervision, development, learning. So when you introduce a technology, how can a coach find out what is done with this data? What are the best practices that we need to be looking for? What are the things to think about here?
Yes, I would here introduce just the fact that, again, the coaching associations work in collaboration to introducing ethical standards, and there is a recent new version of the Global Code of Ethics, which is signed by a number of organizations, including APEX and the AMCC and AC and other European organizations. And this code has been issued indeed this year with a review of introducing particularly the aspect of technology into the ethical code, drawing attention to practicing coaching, to the fact that they need to pay attention to this. And of course, the way you can pay attention differs from application to application, but all I'm saying on a positive note is that the coaching industry is aware of the fact that it needs to introduce now technology under the ethical practices that we normally have, thinking of technology and how it's going to impact our practice.
Rebecca?
And also there's like the ethics in coaching, and then combined with the ethics that there is already out there in AI. There are big committees and boards globally that agreed on certain ethics on how to develop an AI system. And I think that technology companies that work with both coaching and AI, they need to somehow make transparent as well to their users that they do follow those codes of ethics in both of these sides, for coaching and for AI systems as well. Because for AI systems, it's pretty clear that it's all about transparency as well, of what they do with your data and what they collect and how they're actually making use of that. And I think that's something that, because you asked for the practical implications and what people need to look out for, is like we had a little side discussion before this podcast also, that people need to take responsibility for what's happening with their data and the data of their clients specifically when they do use certain technologies. So it is also the responsibility of the coach itself to look at the privacy policy and check out what's happening with my data and the data of my sessions when I use this technology. You can't always just make only the technology providers responsible for everything. We all have to take responsibility, the ones developing it, the ones using it, and especially when you're using it with your client who is not aware of, like the sort of technology that you're using and what's happening with it. So you have two responsibilities as a coach and as the one leading the coaching with your client.
Rebecca, do you want to share with us a bit more about this quest of looking into terms and conditions and what you found on one of your quests?
There is, at the moment, there's a tendency of using transcripts as well to collect data of coaching sessions. And if you then read into the privacy policy, you read that they don't only just collect the data for transcripts, but also for identifying keywords, topics, emotions, sentiments. But that's not mentioned in the first place when they kind of offer the new special feature. And let's say in a perfect world, this would have been highlighted in the first place when telling your client about that amazing new technology, because it's totally fine to use it. There's nothing bad about that technology. It's just that you need to be aware what's happening with the data in the background to make a better decision if you do want to use this now in your coaching session, if it's actually of benefit. And you need to also point out to your coachee that this is happening in the background, and actually your coachee should also consent with it. So that's something that you really need to look out for.
There was a very wonderful comment that I appreciated at one conference, one of the many conferences that I attend, which I really liked. The mention was that all this technology, when you buy it, when we buy our laptops and tablets and everything else, do not come with a user manual whereby it is said exactly what the device does. For instance, a correct user manual and the capability of the device would be to say it collects pictures, it collects sound, it collects your voice, it classifies tone, it does this and it does that, which is effectively what the manufacturers could use it for. Right? So it only tells me what I can do with it if I click a button, but that's not the full functional capability of the device. And we are not told what the full capability it is, like listening to you all the time, analyzing what you say, picking up any kind of information which is private and personal to you. And that is a problem, obviously, because then we find out that these devices do all sorts of things. Famously, people put pieces of paper to cover their camera because it can be activated. Any kind of application in a device can be remotely activated, not by me, the user. This is a fact. So effectively, we are just sitting targets for data collection, and data is the new gold, is the new oil, is the new riches. This is what makes the trillionaires of today, the 5 big tech companies, very rich, is data, nothing else. So, and we are either giving it freely, not understanding what we are doing, or they are taking it, not telling us that it's being taken from us. So it's a very, very interesting and disturbing reality, actually.
Yes, so the responsibility from the client of reading, then the responsibility of the company telling us. And then as a client, I might choose, well, actually the risk is less than the benefit I get from it. And you might still decide to go ahead with it, but it's just about informing.
Yes. Absolutely.
Just for example, I was curious about that example you gave, Rebecca, because I'm also in a position where I want to take my coach Vici to the next level by training it on coaching conversations, right? So I'm working with a supplier in another university, and we will go through the legal ethic route, to use data that we legally can. But I'm suddenly, as a researcher, very jealous if a company can, record 1 million coaching conversations and use that to train their AI. And I'm like, damn, I wish I was in that position. I wish I was that researcher. But not if it's unethical, obviously. But I think there's a trade-off then. How do we advance science? How do we advance progress, but still do it in an ethical way? Because we could say, let's say this company lies about what they do, but they have the ability to create this amazing artificial intelligence coach, which can really help the world at a fraction of the cost. So democratizing coaching is what I'm about. and they lied a little bit to people, but no one really got hurt. It was anonymized, no one really got hurt, but they've got this amazing product. Versus on the other extreme, where we say, unless I give explicit consent about everything I do, you cannot touch my data, and then we never have a wonderful product in the end. How do we balance that?
There is a solution to that. And the solution is, if you go back a few years, and there is a very unfortunate association of words, but the Cambridge University conducted a research with Facebook users a few years back, and they obtained the actual consent of more than 3 million people initially when they started, and then it went to 5 and possibly 10. And they were doing that famous research that we all know about, where the computer could, the AI could reverse engineer personality type and predict certain things from analyzing the likes and dislikes only in the system. That was indeed the ideal situation, Nicky, as you would see it, which is we do help advancing science, and there are millions of people, just like with the COVID vaccine. I mean, there have been tens of thousands of people who volunteered to test, and they knew the risks, and everything was open and everything was transparent, and we did get results because tens of thousands of people volunteered. In the same way with the Facebook scientific research, and not the very controversial applications later, and we need not to confuse the two situations. They initially started with 3 million people who said yes on Facebook, and so they indeed helped the science. And even with, as I said, with medication and all sorts of technologies, you do have the advancement that is assured through an ethical and transparent kind of contract between the researchers and the future beneficiaries, because people who give their consent understand that after that the benefit will be theirs, but also millions of other people. So there is goodwill with the human race to contribute freely.
Rebecca.
It's super interesting that you mention it, Adina, because I used to be I used to work with the Facebook algorithm. I worked with a Facebook preferred developer company before, so I know the algorithm very well, and also the Cambridge Analytica topic. And that was not, I have to add, not consensual, because they used quizzes to collect their data, and people did consent to give their data away to get the result for the quiz, from the quiz that they actually filled in, but they did not consent in using it for that. So it's a bit of they consented, but only for a specific case. And it's kind of like it's a very similar topic. And I think it's amazing because I think a lot of good can come out of that as well. It advanced the technology, and there's a lot of things that you can do. That's how they actually trained their complete advertising engine in the background. Yeah, that you can advertise according to people's interests, personalities, and then they misused it in the American election. But there's also a lot of positive things coming out of it. So data itself is never bad. Yeah, it's what we do with it. And as human beings, coming back to the point, so the machine is not bad in that way. So,
and maybe just to conclude this discussion or to add to it, so I serve on the ethics committee of my university, not just AI, but any research involving humans. And it's very interesting because we classify research according to exempt, low risk, medium risk, high risk. And it is not impossible to do high-risk research. In fact, you can do high-risk research. You must just put the mitigating factors in place. So, for example, provide psychological counseling, things like that. So I think the bottom line of this is, I hope we agree that it's important to do research and it's important to collect data, but it's about being transparent about what's going to happen and then putting the mitigating factors and things in place so that no one gets harmed in the way. This is what I see in just normal non-AI research as well. So I guess we must also not try to reinvent the wheel when it comes to AI coaching and technology coaching. As Adina and Rebecca said, we must borrow existing frameworks and things that people have thought through and not try and reinvent it.
Actually, I was thinking, and maybe because I have a wonderful, glorious past in business, working for what I call hard business in manufacturing, supply chain, international commerce, and internal audit. Internal audit was the most fascinating because you look really at compliance, at risk, and you look at the entire organization. It's an open door for you. You can go anywhere and inquire and see anything. And I'm thinking that people possibly do not always have the visualization of the hierarchy of regulation and structure that actually exists, talking about multiple frameworks. Because you would have a ballpark saying, you will have the rules of an organization, and then you'll have let's say, a company that makes electrical products. You have the rules and the restrictions and the safety of in-house the company. Then you have it of the industry. The industry, electrical industry, has got standards of safety. And then you have national standards which regulate safety, right? Every country has got specific things. And then you have international standards. And then, looking at coaching and technology, you will have a combination of these pyramids of standards which already exist and need to be combined together. So there is a lot of safeguarding, actually, if you look at this architecture of standards and regulation. And as you're saying, Nicky, it is possible to actually assure safety at any level. If you don't have something national, there is surely something international. If there isn't something international, there is something in-house, because it's specific to an industry. Electrical industry has different risks than pharma industry and so on. So there is this multitude of frameworks of risk mitigation, and we could actually use them. I'm not sure that people are always aware of how many opportunities there are across the various, multidisciplinary aspect of our endeavors. And if you look at all the disciplines involved, you will always find safety and find some help if you want to do it ethically. So I totally believe scientific progress cannot be achieved without research. Absolutely, and development and innovation. But we also have developed standards that can make it safe, and we should use them. Maybe we don't know about them, and maybe we should educate ourselves, but there is a lot of help.
Thanks for listening to part 1 of this panel discussion. I hope you have enjoyed it. Join us next week to continue this chat about technology and ethics. So thank you for listening to another episode by the Association for Coaching. I have been Claudia Day. Our purpose is to help coaches in the process of navigating the new technologies that are arising in this field. If you would like to find out more, please follow us on LinkedIn or explore our webpage at theassociationforcoaching.com. There you can keep up to date with our latest episodes and conversations, as well as our digital learning calendar.